I had to be something. I had to either be like my father, or I had to be this amazing sports person, or I had to be this amazing student. But in God's eyes, all I had to do was give it to him, and I would be this child of God that he always meant for me to be.
Welcome to this week's episode of the His Hill Podcast. My name is Kelly Doherty, and I'm your host. I have with us today a alumni who is the son of an alumni. So there's some history here with His Hill. This is Aaron Sseruwagi. Aaron, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Yeah, glad to be here.
It's good to have you here. It's good to have you back at His Hill as well. Aaron is a Bible college student, and he was a student with us a couple of years ago, and he's worked in summer camp a couple of times. I mentioned that his dad was a student with us. He also was a summer staffer. I remember Gerald. The first time I met Gerald, I was a youth pastor in Louisiana, and he came out with a group from His Hill. And what was so captivating for me was that this van pulls up at the campsite we were meeting, and Tim Marshall, who was the assistant director at the time, he got out, and all the students start to get out, and they were very shy. They were very scared, really. You know, they're going to be counselors for all these kids, and they practically hugged the van. It was hilarious. They were standing right up against the van, and they were in the big sliding door in the way, and there was this guy in the back, and it was your dad. He comes crawling over the other students, pushing them out of the way, and stepped out in front of them and went straight to the youth, and started introducing himself and getting to know them right off the bat. And that the reason that took me back is because all these kids that got out were these white North American kids, and the one that was crawling over them was the black African that was just so engaged and ready for what the Lord had for him. And then a relationship developed there over the years. So anyway, that was your dad. And now you're here, Aaron, and I'm really, excited that you're back, just because of your heart for the Lord and the way He's taking you places and what He's doing with you. Now you're back here and pouring into these kids, and I'm just really excited to see this development, really. And also the things that I know a lot of your story, and know what the Lord has had to take you through and what He's had to do in your heart, and so it's just so neat to see you mature in the Lord. So, Aaron, let's introduce you to the listeners. Why don't you tell them first, where were you born, and what kind of family did you grow up in?
So I was born in Uganda, Kampala, Uganda, and of course, I grew up with my dad, who loved the Lord so much, and my mom. My mom, for those who don't know, my dad grew up, and his dad did not love the Lord. His dad was a Muslim, and he was kicked out of his house. But that's a whole different story. So he didn't grow up Christian, so this was his first time, I would say, probably, like, having a family that's, leading a family that's Christian. So, and then my mom grew up, she grew up knowing the Lord. So it was not no change for her, but I think being with my dad loving the Lord so much was very clear. And it was so clear to all of us. We grew up with people coming into our house all the time. We're not used to the house being empty. The house always had visitors, someone coming in and out, and someone visiting, and someone being a friend of my dad, or even someone coming to thank my dad for what he did. And I'm just what does this guy do? All the time, people coming over. And yeah, it was great. I have 3 siblings, or at that time I had 3 siblings. My older sister, I had 2 younger brothers. Now I have a younger sister.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I grew up.
Okay. And how old were you when you became a believer?
So it's so much fun to think about it. I was 6 years old. I gave my life to Christ at Maranatha Bible Church when I used to live here in the U.S. And that's my grandfather's church. Mm-hmm. And it was a Wednesday night. I remember it so well. He was speaking, And for some reason, they brought all the kids into the big church, and he was just sharing, and it was so clear, and it was just like I knew the Lord. I'd been to Sunday school, of course, being with my dad. My dad always talked to us about Jesus, and same with my mom. But when my grandfather was telling and just talking to us about Jesus, I was like, wow, I've never done that before. Like, I've never actually accepted Jesus. And for some reason, I just got up and I asked my teacher, I was like, hey, can I go up there and give my life to Jesus? And she was like, yeah, please do. So I went up. I remember just going at the stairs and just kneeling down and praying. And then I remember looking up, and it's such a great memory for me right now because my parents were looking for me because we're supposed to be going home. And I remember my dad coming down the aisle, and I remember he was just so much joy. It's like he was so happy at what I had done.
Yeah.
And he came by, went behind, and we prayed, and they told me what I had done. Because even though I wanted to do something like that, I didn't fully understand what exactly I had done. But they explained what I'd done, and I was like, yeah, I of course want to do that. And yeah, it was just amazing, and it's just a great memory for me.
Wow. Now, you said that you were born in Uganda, and then you were talking about living here in Texas, and that's really the first time I remember meeting you. You were just a little boy, and your family was living here on campus, and you guys were attending Maranatha down in San Antonio. You said that the pastor, Rander Draper, who we've had on the podcast, is your grandfather. Now, just so people understand how all this fits, because you were born in Uganda and all of this, that he is probably the most accurate way to say it is that he is your spiritual grandfather, but in a very practical way, your grandfather as well. I would assume. Yes. Okay. He's nodding his head. Yes. How long were you in Uganda before you guys moved to the States?
So I don't exactly know the exact but the ballpark I'm guessing is we moved before my birthday, I'm guessing. So I was about 3, and then my brother was born in November, so I was about 3 turning 4. So that's when we moved here to U.S. And yeah, it was for my dad's school.
Okay, and how long did you live in the States before moving back?
We lived here until I was 8, so about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and Arlene was talking about this. It was either last night or this morning. For the listener, Arlene is my wife. She was your piano teacher.
Yes, she was.
And I think your sister, too. I think you both took piano, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I know Arlene has just had a heart for you. It could just, you were this well-behaved, sweet little boy. She enjoyed teaching you and your sister. And then when you came back for Bible school, she was absolutely elated that, that this is what the Lord was doing in your heart. And she was excited too to hear that you were going to be on the podcast. So tell us a little bit then. Okay, so you came here and for 4 years, so that was quite a while. You probably really got used to being here.
Oh, so used to it.
Yeah, and then what was it like for you to move back? Were you excited to move back? Were you didn't have any thoughts about it, or what?
I can remember just wondering why. It's like as a kid, you think life is so good. So if life is really good in one place, then you don't change it. If I'm playing a game here, and I'm really enjoying this game, but another game is going on, but that game doesn't look as fun, then why would I go change that game and go play another game? You know?
Yeah.
So the kid just thinking like that, I just think I'm having so much fun right here. So why would we leave right here to go somewhere else I don't actually know? Okay. So that's how I felt as a kid, just growing up wondering why did we even leave? It just doesn't make sense.
So what was it like? Do you remember what it was like for you making the adjustment once you had moved back?
Yeah, so we didn't actually move back to Uganda right away. We went to Rwanda because my dad was the president of a Bible college, from what I can remember. And I remember, this is a funny story. I remember when we got there, we got off the plane, and my dad met this guy, and they were laughing and they were joking around because he had known this guy for so many years. And they were just joking about how small Rwanda is and just other stuff. And I remember we sat in the car, and we all started reaching for seatbelts because, in the U.S. you wear seatbelts. And my brother was looking for his car seat, but there's no car seat. And we're like, okay, there's 2 seatbelts, and there are 3 people in the back. We're just like, why are there no seatbelts? So don't worry about it. Here, you don't have to wear seatbelts if you sit in the back seat. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's new. So yeah, that was really it. And just coming and people wondering, why you talk funny? I'm just like, I don't think I do. I think you talk funny. But, just going around but yeah, the adjustment was great. Of course, I was still homeschooled, so I didn't really get into so much the culture in Rwanda, but it was still so much fun. And going around the Bible college my dad was teaching at, it was kind of the same being here at His Hill, just going around and seeing young people. And these young people have a heart for the Lord, and all they want to do is have fun and play with these kids, and they just have a joy of the Lord with them. And just like, it's so much fun to be around people who just have the joy of the Lord in their hearts. So that's what I remember about it.
Okay. What was it? Do you have memories of just what it was like for you with the Lord? Like, what He was teaching you, or just what it was like to live as a Christian?
Yeah. I remember my dad. My dad was really big on, at least for me, I remember he was really big on teaching me lessons, even at a young age. I remember so many times, one lesson I remember we finished eating and it was my turn to wash the dishes. And I'm really young and I'm just like, I don't want to wash the dishes, I want to go play. So I went and I left and I refused to go wash the dishes. So my dad, I remember he spanked me really hard that day and he's like, no, you as a man, you need to accept the responsibility and you need to take a responsibility. I remember him teaching me lessons like you have to respect like ladies. I remember just getting a fight with my sister, and I remember him pushing her aside, and I got in trouble that day. And it's just like you're the man. You need to do this. In our homeschool room, he had a whole list of what it means to be a man, and he had me look at that every day, and it's like, yeah, this is how you're supposed to be. And my sister and I, he would make us memorize different verses of the Bible. He made me memorize the Sermon on the Mount when I was really, really young.
Really?
Yeah. And my sister had a bunch of other stuff she had to do as well. Mm-hmm. And he just wanted to instill in us memorizing the scripture, reading the word, knowing God's word. I really love the stories. I enjoy, just like any young boy does, they enjoy the interesting stories. Right. Daniel in the lion's den,
right.
David and Goliath, just those stories that are captivating. But yeah, but my dad was really keen on teaching me lessons. Just like the Bible is fun and interesting, but you need to learn. And he was like, you're a man. You're going to be a man one day. And a man is not one day you wake up and you're a man, but you grow towards being a man. And I think that's what he wanted to teach me. So he was even at 6 years old, he was starting to try and build this, we're stepping up and we're stepping up all the time. I remember in Rwanda, we had this huge driveway, and every Saturday morning, he would have me sweep it, and he would come and he would check it. And if it was bad, I would have to do it all over again. And that was to teach me responsibility. We're given something and we take care of it. Mm-hmm. And you're given a task and you do it to the best of your ability. So there were just things that he was to teach me. And at the time, I was just like, this absolutely sucks. I'm watching my brothers inside and my sister just chilling. I'm just like, I'm out here sweeping the driveway. This is not fun. But I think now I see it. I'm just like, wow, okay, that really taught me responsibility and hard work. And it put something in my heart that even though I ignored for a while, it came back later on. So.
So were those lessons really different from what other young boys in Rwanda and in Uganda were being taught or not being taught?
I think so. I think my dad was he was very intentional, mm-hmm. and he was very intentional about what he taught. So I think it was different because of how he was teaching it, and because he is my father, and him growing up with his father, he understood the importance of a father, and the way he wanted to teach it to me was very, very important. So I think, yeah.
All right. So how did things go as you began to age? Were you rebellious toward your father with these things, or did your heart soften toward these things?
I mean, of course, deep down in my heart, I did not want to do it, but it was very hard to be rebellious against my father because he was he would say it and you either do it or there's a punishment towards it. So either you accept it and you do it with a happy heart, or you don't do it and you receive a punishment for it. And so it was hard to be rebellious against him. Also because he was he wasn't a bad father. He was a very good father. And these were just things I had to do. So it's just I hate doing that. But again, I don't really not like my father. So mm-hmm. I don't think I ever got rebellious towards him. I just knew that when he says something like this, I have to do it. This is serious now. He's fun and he's a funny guy, but now when he says this, I have to be very serious.
Okay. So, with your walk with Jesus, were you growing as a child in a desire to know Jesus and to just to get to know him?
Yeah, I think I did grow into knowing Jesus. Maybe not the same way I know him now, of course, but
Right.
I'm going to know, oh yeah, Jesus is loving, he's caring. I remember my dad teaching us that you can pray to Jesus and he'll answer you, and he knows what's best for you. And he might not give it to you, but he knows what you need, and you just pray to him and ask him, and he can provide for you. And later on in life, I remember just like being places and realizing that there are people here who have like half the knowledge I have of the Bible. And it's just like, and these are my age mates, or even I go higher up and people don't know. It's just, it was the importance of what I was learning during that time was very important to later on in life.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because, being here at his hill over the years, Charlie, gives a basic biblical knowledge exam at the beginning of every school year. And what we have found is that there is a growing biblical illiteracy among the churched. And there are things that we've had to, just individually as teachers, we've had to come to this, that I need to slow down here and not assume that the people I'm teaching know the basics. And so what I've tried to do is to give a lot of background, to explain a lot of things, because I've had students ask me in class things that I was taught as a child. And I said, wow, these are people that grew up in a Christian home going to church. And that's a sad commentary. But the good news is that he gives the same exam at the end of the year, and the students do significantly better. And then we see a lot of people go on to maturity and walk with the Lord, and it's a very encouraging thing to see. Okay, for you, we've been talking a lot about your dad, and for obvious reasons. I mean, he played a big role in your life. Even to this day, there's things that you can look at and have testified to that have been instilled in you because of that. But so people really understand the things that you've had to deal with in growing up and in life, is that you lost your dad at a young age. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I still remember that day like it was yesterday, And this Sunday was actually 12 years since he had passed away at night. So I remember it's just a normal day for us, and I can't remember exactly what we did, but we did something fun that night, because I remember going back, wow, that was so much fun.
How old were you?
I was 8 years old at that time.
Okay.
And it was like so much fun at that time, and we just had fun, and now we're going to bed. Of course, as a kid, you're going to bed and thinking, tomorrow's going to be even more fun now, just thinking stuff like that. And my sister, she's very smart versus this, but also she's kind of sneaky. Like, my parents would have to like talk in a different language so that she wouldn't ruin the family vacations. So yeah, she was always like that. And I remember at night one time, just the gate opens, gate closes, and I'm just like who cares? I'm still sleeping, and my sister comes and wakes me up and says, "Mom and Dad just left with your aunt, with our aunt and uncle." I'm just like, okay, yeah. She says, I think there's something wrong with Dad. I was just like kid just jumping into conclusions in my head. I'm just like, no, there's no way. So she says, we should get up. I'm just like, no. And she's like talking to me, because at the time when we were younger, we were like the best of friends. And then my aunt comes and tells us to grab some clothes for tomorrow, because she thinks that we are going to stay at her house. So we get our clothes together. My younger brothers get up. My youngest brother's 4 and my other brother's 6, so they're pretty young now. So we get them up and we go to my aunt's house, and she has 2 kids, and they're both around my age. One's higher, one's lower. So in between my sister and I, and then in between my brother and I. So we're all great friends. So we get there, and they just let us do anything. It's just so much fun. We're like watching TV. It's so late. We're like eating. I can't remember what we're eating, but it was just so much fun. We're partying. It's like so much fun, and like knowing now that like in the hospital, my dad is like, of course, fighting for his life, or he'd already passed away, and the next day I remember the same thing happened. We got up. It's just great that they just letting us do whatever we want. Just like, wow, this is amazing. It's like this is great. Every day should be like this. But I remember just, again, the gate opens and cars just come in. And I can't remember how many cars there were, but there were a lot of cars that just came in. And my mom comes out with some people from church and some people from the Bible college. And then I'm just like, oh, wait, that's my aunt from Uganda. I haven't seen her in a while. Oh, why is she here? And then my mom comes out and she's just like, she's obviously been crying so hard and her eyes are red. She looks really tired. And I remember she calls us all into a room, and now we're all sitting in the room. And I remember what she said, and just to shorten it, she was just saying stuff like, God loves us so much, and God gives, and God takes away, God takes care of us. And she said that that she's like, your father's gone to be with the Lord. And I just remember wondering, what? Like, no way. That just doesn't happen. And I remember my sister ran out of the room, and I just sat there looking at her, just wondering why. Because I don't know if it hadn't processed in my head yet, or I just remember sitting there and just silence, and my body just frozen. And my other brother did the same thing, and I remember my youngest brother was just like, why? Like, you're lying. Dad's at work, you know? In his head, he just didn't understand the concept of death. And even in the later years, he would like ask my grandpa, Pastor Draper, why did God take my father so young and you got to live so old? So it's like in his head, this was not something that he would even thought about before until right now. So, and then obviously, they just comforting us. I remember it didn't even start to hit to me because we went back to our house, and then all of a sudden people started coming in. And I'm not talking just like 10 people. I'm talking about a lot of people. And I remember I'm outside when I'm riding my bike with my brother, and my cousin's there, and then people coming in and just like, oh yeah, and then my cousin, who seemed to be the spokesperson, was just like, yeah, his father just died, and he was just telling everyone, and just like he's like talking for me, you know, he's like my Aaron, and I'm just the Moses, and he's telling everyone, they're just like, oh, we're so sorry for your loss. I'm just like, yeah. I remember the funerals were really big in Rwanda, got even bigger in Uganda. There were thousands of people there. Like thousands.
Yeah, you know, what blows my mind is your dad was such a humble man. Mm-hmm. He did not, he was not a self-promoter at all. And he would come back to the States and he would teach at the Bible school, and he and I would go out for lunch, and, you know, we visited, we talked about things, we laughed, we started making some plans on some things, you know, praying about things. And he never told me what his life was like to the extent that it was in Africa. But when your grandfather came back from the two funerals, he told us, that I think it was a little bit of a shock for him too, but he told us that these two funerals, one in Rwanda and the other in Uganda, were state funerals. Mm-hmm. And that the streets were lined up with multitudes of people. Yeah. People wearing T-shirts with your dad's picture on them.
I still have the T-shirts.
Do you? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I knew he had a large ministry, but I did not know it was to that extent, to where it even, there were government officials that were very closely connected with your dad. And, you know, just the impact that he had on two nations, it just took me back. I didn't know this. But this is the kind of home you grew up in, and though at the time you didn't really realize it either, right? Yeah. That the Lord was using him in what we would call huge ways, and it was from a heart of a man who knew that Jesus was his life, and he was trusting Jesus for what was laid before him. And so this is the kind of home you grew up in, and all of a sudden, your dad's gone. Mm-hmm. You know, looking back on it now, how did that affect you?
In the moment, I was still, of course, just like stunned. And then, of course, the funeral happens. I remember at the funeral, they asked me if I wanted to say something. So my sister gets the mic, and we're the two oldest, of course. And then they don't even bring my younger brothers up to speak or say anything. And I remember they gave her the mic, and she had written something down in her notebook, and she had something prepared. And she holds the mic, and she's like, "I am Bethany Gloria Sseruwagi, and I am the daughter of Gerald Sseruwagi." And as she's speaking, she's shaking and she's crying. And then they take the mic away. It's just like, and then they ask me if I want to say anything. I'm just like, I look out and just like no, I can't. So I push it away, and of course that ends. But people still stay. I remember staying in Uganda for a while, and we're just staying with family, and they're just treating us like, royalty, just doing everything you want to do, and everything's fun. We're getting gifts all the time, and it's just like that kind of like put like I'd say pressure on the wound. You just can't feel it for the moment.
Okay.
And
Wow.
then as the weeks go by and all this good stuff slowly stop happening, and real life starts to kick in again, and just realizing, wow, okay, our dad is actually not here anymore. And that was really rough on our family. Of course, with all these people here, the older I got, the more men I met that were talking about my dad. They would say, "I knew your dad. Your dad was amazing." And I would just say, yeah, that's pretty cool. Because it felt like I was robbed of something, and he had he took what I should have had. And now it feels like now I can never have it, and he's had it. And just anger festered in my heart with God. Just God, why would you do that? And we're talking with my sister, just asking God, like there's so many bad people in this world. Why did you take a good one and leave all the bad ones? So,
what did the Lord do in your heart with that?
for the longest time, I can remember just being angry. I didn't really like talking about my father. Of course, being his oldest son, I think a lot of stuff would compared to me.
Sure.
So it's like, Aaron, you can't do that. Like, no, you are your father's oldest son. Aaron, you can't do that. Aaron, you're supposed to be this, And it became like this annoying thing of just like, I don't want to be him anymore, because I just can't. And to the point, it's just like, I'm not going to try. I'm just not going to try to be him. The anger festers in my heart. I'm just like, I'm not going to try. All these people want me to do it, so I'm just not going to do it. And yeah, in school, we were homeschooled. We moved to Uganda from Rwanda so my mom could be with her family so that she could take care of us. And knowing now that she was also struggling, but taking care of us and struggling with her faith and just providing for us, and people were helping us so much. And just knowing that, and then I was just like, I'm just gonna not do it. I'm in school. I don't care. I'm just gonna do what I want to do, because what they want me to do is impossible. So I can't do that. So yeah.
Okay. So how did your own relationship with Jesus begin to develop? To where you're starting to find identity in Christ and not in being like your dad.
Well, that didn't happen until I came here to His Hill.
Okay. So before we get to His Hill, you were so young when he died. You were 8. And you didn't come here until what, 18?
18, yes.
Yeah.
Sir.
So those 10 years, there's so many things that went on. What was that walk like with the Lord? There was struggles, there was battles. What was going on?
Yeah, there were two sides to it. When getting to high school and middle school. And in middle school, for us, it was 4th grade to 8th grade. So I remember starting off just not really caring about much. I went to school. I wasn't one of the popular kids, so it was I didn't get much love. So just hated school, but loved just playing, chilling, doing what I wanted to do, playing soccer. I grew a really strong love for soccer. That became my I would say, identity, and that was soccer. And just continuously, that became what I would love to do and what I only wanted to do. And school was just not my goal. I just didn't want to be there. And people would ask me about my dad, or I remember going to school. And the worst part was seeing people's parents come in and seeing people's dads. And the people that, in my head, I would say, they don't deserve a father. Like I deserve my father. They don't. Or someone talking about how they have a father and they don't talk to him much or they don't see him much. And I'm just thinking, like, that's not my father. Like why did my father, like, why did I get this and someone else has their father and their father's not even with them or something? But just I was quite rebellious. My mom talks to me about it right now. She says you were very, very like rebellious. And I remember I would not do homework. I would not study for my exams. I was just passing the classes like barely off of just straight knowledge that I heard in class probably one time I was listening. And I remember getting to the 6th and 7th grade, and I remember that's when I hit like growth spurt. And I started growing taller, I started getting faster, and all of a sudden, people began to notice me. So when I was younger, no one noticed me, but now I'm beginning to get noticed. And people are like, wow, okay, this guy can run, okay, he can play soccer. And I started playing soccer for my school. And that became my identity, and just making people laugh as well. I was really good at that in class, where not listening and making people laugh, soccer, being popular, just doing what people wanted me to do, just risking my my school for a few laughs. And that became who I was. I was a person that came to school and didn't really care. I remember I had a teacher in the 7th grade. His name was Timothy, and he was he was so good in my life. And I thank him all the time. But I remember he was so tough on me. And he wasn't tough on me like the other kids. He was really, really tough on me. I still don't know why. Maybe he saw the need to. But he'd be like, Aaron, you cannot be doing this. Like, you need to be better. You need to be a leader. Like, you need to do this. I'm just like, why do you want me to do this? Like, why me and not him? And he would just push me constantly. And I remember he had this thing of putting grades up. And he would stack everyone's grades listed from the worst to the best in front of the classroom because people were not taking their class seriously. And he was telling me, he's like, Aaron, if you don't get serious, I'll start posting your grades in front of the entire middle school block and just let them see. Of course, I started getting serious because now it's just like, okay, now people are going to see, so I need to like work a little harder. And he still pushed me. He still pushed me, not just in school, but even in my sports. He was like, you need to get serious. I remember one time he told me, hey, Aaron, you're a joker. If you keep on like this, you would never play for the school team in your life.
Wow.
And it's just things like that where he's pushing me and saying, you can't be like that. Of course, I was still a bit rebellious, and I got suspended in the 8th grade from school for getting in a fight with a high schooler. I was, yeah, I was not that, I was bigger than most of them, but I was not that big compared to high school. I was probably, I don't know, maybe I'm going to say like 5'8", maybe. I was pretty tall, but this guy was probably like 6 foot. And I don't know why I picked a fight with him.
You picked the fight.
I picked the fight. I mean, he started the fight, but I mean, it was over, and I just thought, this is my time to shine. I'm going to do something crazy, and I just kept on. I mouthed off at him. I said terrible stuff to him, and everyone, and the people around me laughed. I'm like, I won, I won that. And he came back to me later, and he tried to fight me, and I thought, no, I'm not going down with the fight. And while he wasn't ready, I, swung a punch at him and things like that. And of course, I got in trouble for that, and my principal just looked at me and just started wondering, like, why are you doing this? And I got suspended from school. And before I got suspended, I remember my mom got remarried. I think that's a point that I need to remember because it's very important for the later wise. And my dad, my stepdad at the time, I loved him a lot. He was so important to me. I really, really loved him. So getting suspended and coming home, and my stepdad's looking at me, and my mom's looking at me being like, my mom's just so disappointed. I remember her looking at me wondering, why are you doing this? Like, do you think that, are you proud of yourself? She was a lawyer, and he is also a lawyer. So as kids would joke around and say, I'd rather be spanked, just spank me, because they'll break you down so hard. Just ask you the questions and straight up, just like, are you proud of yourself? I remember they asked me so many questions like, so you said this to him, and then you said this to him, and you said this to him, and then you punched him. And I was like, yeah, that checks out. Yeah, I did that too. And they're just like breaking down. I'm just thinking, I'm like, wow, I'm so terrible. And I get suspended from school. I come back to school 2 weeks later, and everyone knows me there. The school that I went to was a Christian school, and my dad had big influence there as well. So a lot of the staff members know me, and they're coming to me when I came back and said, I hope you're better this time. They're saying, I hope you've grown over those 2 weeks. my mom had punishment set up for me, so where I was like knowing what like I had done a bad thing. But I came back to school and they told me, "Hey, Aaron, we're thinking that you need to repeat a class. We can't send you to high school with what you've been doing." And that's when I was like, "No,
Wow.
no, I'm not doing that." And I fought as hard as I could to get the passing grade, and I passed. And COVID came, and COVID saved me.
Really?
Yeah, it did. I think if there was no COVID, I would have redone the class. And I went to the next grade, and I thought to myself, I don't like this anymore. I think I want to be better. And my relationship with Jesus was just read about him, say what you know about him. People think you're smart, but it stays in the books. You know, it's just what I can say and what people want to hear. Just say that. And I got really good at saying what people wanted to hear, so much that I started to believe that, oh yeah, maybe I actually do believe that, but I really did not at all. And I just really got really good at saying what people wanted to hear. And that really helped me in high school because I got really good at saying what people wanted to hear. And in high school, I got to 9th grade and it was really hard. And I thought, I'm going to try my best. I'm actually going to try and do well. And I started trying and realized that, I'm not a good chemistry student. I'm so bad at chemistry. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at, I was good at a few subjects, but I was like, and then it became weighing heavy on my heart. And my stepdad was really helpful because he helped me a lot in my school. And yeah, and then I got really good at sports and I kept growing. And so he also really encouraged me in that. We used to watch soccer together. Every weekend we'd sit together, watch soccer, and I would make him popcorn and a cup of coffee, and he taught me how to make popcorn and a cup of coffee. So I learned how to make a coffee from him, and yeah, those are just things we did together, and it was a lot of fun. So now I'm bonding with like the father figure that I've wanted for a long time,
right?
And it's starting to feel really, really good, but at the same time, I'm really struggling because I'm trying to be something that I would say that I'm not. I'm trying to fake being, I would say, good or a good Christian at the time. And I got really burnt out, and it was really, really hard for me.
What happened to you with burning out?
Burning out, I just got into really bad depression. Like, I can still see the music I listen to. Like, technology is so good that I can see the music I was listening to when I was that age. I'm like, why was I listening to this? This is like destroying, like soul destroying music, and it's just terrible. And I struggle with depression, and of course the anger is still in my heart. So now I'm going to school, and this is the worst part of it. I'm going to school and I'm being this happy, joyful person that everybody loves, and becoming a person that my teachers begin to start liking because I'm actually trying in school now. So I'm becoming this person that everybody likes, and I just come back home, and that's when the anger sets in. I'm just like, I can't hold it in for that much longer. And I wasn't very good to my siblings. I treated them the way I should have not treated them a lot of the time, and that wasn't very good for an older brother to do that to his siblings. And I just, wasn't the nicest. And when I got angry, they got the fiery side of it. No one else got that but them, and they still love me till today. So, but yeah, that was just me. And I got really good at soccer. I got really popular at school. I got really popular with other schools, and I kept growing. People loved me. I got really good at sports, and I became the vice president and president of my student council at school. I was the team captain. Parents loved me, even though I got suspended. At first, parents were like, "Stay away from that kid. He's not good." But now parents are like, "That's a good man. You should be friends with that boy." And I remember my mom, parents joking with my mom and saying, "Hey, can I give your son my daughter and you guys get married?" Just as a joke. And there's just so many things going on, and that's just who I was. I was just like raised up person. I would go to school and I would talk to teachers like we're buddies.
Yeah.
Like you can't say anything to me.
Wow.
Of course, like I tried to be respectful, but that was in my heart. Just like I know who I am and you know who I am. So let's not beat around the bush. And of course, most of the teachers loved me, and most of the parents. So I just began being this great person in my head.
So all of this is going on but you know in your heart that you're not happy.
I'm not. Yeah.
So what happened?
So it first started with sports, and I started to achieve what I wanted in sports. And I started to get seen, and I'm just like, this is not making me happy. Sadly, I started talking to girls, and I'll talk to them, and they'll talk to me the way I wanted them to talk to me, and that was not satisfying. I was not happy. And then the one thing I didn't get to until like later was like the drinking. I didn't get into that until later, but I started doing school, and I started getting like decent grades, and that still wasn't making me happy. And then my stepdad was at home, and I'm still not fully happy. There's still something in my heart that's unsettled. And then I remember one day I'm in the 11th grade, I believe, 12th, 11th, 12th, yeah, maybe beginning of 12th or end of 11th, and my mom, we're driving to school. My mom taught me how to drive, so we're driving to school. I'm driving, and then we stop. My mom says, "Wait, before you guys go, I need to tell you something." So it was just my brother that's right after me, and me in the car. My sister, she was so smart. She started going to other schools and getting a better education. And my youngest brother, he's American, so he came to school in America when he was 14, and he goes to boarding school till today. It's a really great school, and so now it's just my brother and I at home. And I remember she says, "I have something to tell you, and it's not great." I'm just like, okay, what now? And then she tells me, your stepdad just left, and yeah, I think things in between us are not going well, and it just not working out. And this time, I was old enough to understand and old enough to react, and I remember just crying. I remember walking out of the car and slamming the door. And my mom, and she didn't do anything, surprisingly. She just let me go. And I went to school that day. And that day I was very, very angry. And I remember crying really hard. And I remember, I didn't pray personally much by myself. I remember asking God, why are you doing this to me? I had something good and you took it away. You know, that thing was going to make me happy, even though it probably wasn't. But you just taken away. And I was like, okay, I don't care. I'm going to do my own thing. And I started with all my heart trying to be the best at sports. And I remember at my school, I won. I won 4 of the long distance runs in a row. So I was a pretty good runner. I remember I won the 4th one, and this time my principal calls me up in front of everyone and says, "Hey, guys, this is hard work. He didn't do this overnight. He didn't wake up in the morning and try this." I remember he said this is hard work. He worked hard to be able to win 4 in a row. I remember, wow, that's supposed to be amazing, but it didn't feel amazing, you know. Remember sports, I got this golden boot, and I'm holding it up. I'm just like, wow, like, yes, but no, it's not. It's not filling me the way I wanted to fill me. And I just started falling into the depression. And sadly, I started to self-harm myself, and because I just started to hate who I was. Everyone loved who I was. Everyone loved who I am. They loved me, but I hated myself. And I would ask God, like, God, I don't want to live anymore. Just take my life, because I can't take my own life. Like, you take it. I don't want to be here anymore. And it was just really painful in my heart. And my mom, who still believed in me, but still loved me, still had faith in me, never gave up on me, says, "I think you should go to his hill." I think when she came to drop my brother off, she spoke with Mr. Bell and Charlie, and I think they probably told her to, or she thought about it. And I was just like, I don't want to. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do economics. I'm going to get rich and have money and you know, chase something else. But I remember she said, just think about it, okay? Because your sister said that she didn't want to do it, and she went to college, and for good reason, because she had a lot of scholarships, and it was a really good college, and she didn't want to defer. But I didn't have much of anything planned, and I remember my mom told me to think about it. So at school one day, I had a free period, and I got my laptop. I opened up, typed in His Hill, tapped the first link. I looked at the podcast, and I didn't listen to anything on it. I just saw the podcast, and I remember seeing the video. I was like, okay, this is like a 4-minute video. I tapped to watch it, and my friend is nearby, and she's just doing homework. And I remember I sat there, and I watched the entire video. And when I finished the video, I remember my heart felt heavy, and I was just like, I think I want to do that. And it was Charlie speaking about what they do at here, his Hill. And then I watched another one of John speaking, and just like, okay, this is pretty good. And I told my mom, I want to do this. So she said, okay, here's Charlie's email. Email him. I did that with Charlie, and he responded, and I was like, okay. And he said, hey, I would love for you to come. And he showed how much he loved for me to come by, like, having my school fully paid for. Everything was paid for. All I had to pay for was the ticket, and my mom paid for it, and a friend paid for the ticket. And I remember that happening in my life, and just wondering, okay, this is gonna be good. Maybe this is what's gonna fix me. This is what's gonna fix what I feel like I'm missing. So just all of that. But even before I went to His Hill, I started to get into abuse of like alcohol. I remember coming back from school one day and just drinking a little bit and just falling asleep so that no one would ever find out what I was doing. And it was not good. And I didn't like who I was becoming. I was self-harming myself. I was drinking now, and it wasn't great because I was doing it out of what it was doing to me, how it was making me feel, making me forget everything. And I remember my mom told me one time after she found out that I was not in the right state of mind, she's like, is this who you want to be? And she would ask me that a lot. She would ask me, is this who you really want to be? And I'd just be like, of course not. And she had a lot of brothers that, of course, are down that path, and she would just be like, you don't want to go down this path, and I'm telling you. Like, is this who you really want to be? And when she found out that I was harming myself, she would say, like, how can I send you away when this is what you're doing to yourself? And I still don't know why she sent me here to the U.S. to do Bible school. And I think that's just the Lord, and He knew what He had for me. And I came here, and I came to His Hill for my first year, and I got here, and first day, I looked around. It's funny to think about it. I looked around, and I was just like, I'm the only black person here. Of course, I was like, okay, that's not going to be a big of a deal. But I remember just not wanting to be here. I got here like wanting to be here, and I got there, and I didn't want to be there. I just felt out of place. I'm just like, I don't think I want to be here anymore. And
was it only the skin color that made you feel out of place, or were there other things?
No, it was just my heart. I think my heart was not telling me. Like, I just didn't want to be here. And then the skin color came in play when people would ask me questions, and guys would try and be funny with me and just ask stupid questions and make jokes, and that made me feel like, okay, God, you made me want to be here. You provided for me to be here. Why are you letting this happen to me? And one of the most important things that happened in my life was your Genesis class, because my entire life I've been trying to figure out who I am and what am I supposed to do. And your Genesis class actually had me in tears. I remember we finished on Friday, and when we stood up to clap, I didn't stand up to clap. I stood up and I walked out. And I remember going to the bathroom and just being in tears and just wondering why. Like this cannot be true. Like, there's no way I've ignored this my entire life, and this is true. And
what specifically was it that you said couldn't be true?
I remember you talking about Christ in you. You would say it so fast, but you'd say, it takes God and the man to be the man that God made man to be. And you talked about our identity. Our identity isn't in our gender. It's not in this. It's not in your sports. Not in your family. It is in Christ. And you said so many other stuff about who Christ is, and Christ wants to be in you. You talked about Abraham and how his faith and how he chose for Christ to be in him. And you talked about all of the Bible characters. You went through it really fast, but you talked about it and just faith in Christ and Christ in you. Like, you can't do it. And I remember you shouting at us, you can't. It's not you. Stop trying. And I was just like, oh, why? And I just felt my heart heavy, and everything started to pour out. And then Connor was my D group leader, and Connor was so good to me. And I remember Connor, I picked Connor because he was like before I came, or when I got here, he's one of the guys. Him and Kevin told me that, hey, I know you. Like, your dad taught me while I was here in Bible school. And your dad, like, when you lived here, I knew you as well. So he was kind of crazy. I got Connor as my D group leader, And I remember that was the first time I ever talked about how I felt about when my dad passed away. I'd never shared that or talked about that with anyone. At the time, I had a girlfriend who was really close to me, and I'd never talked about how that night made me feel, about how when he passed away, the anger that was in my heart, the betrayal from God, that someone else got what I deserved, and I didn't get to experience the relationship a boy has with his father. And I never talked about that with anyone, and Connor was the first person I talked to that about.
Really?
Yeah, and that began a healing in my heart. And we're going through classes and the Old Testament, the New Testament, and I know all these stories. Nothing is new to me. Like, the Bible wasn't new to me, but the way it was being taught was just rich. And the staff members didn't just teach and walk out, but they taught and they stood there and they waited. People would go and ask questions. We'd go to their houses. We'd get to know them. We'd get to know their kids, and it was so good. And then we had a student here. His name was Eli Cook, and he was so good to me. He would talk to me and ask me, and he was another person that I shared with things I never told anyone. And it was just, my heart was just beginning to open. And with my heart opening, I could let Christ fully come in. Like, I accepted him in my life, but I never let him take control of my life. I never given him my life to do with what he wants. And it was just different. And Eli and Connor were just listening, talking to me and praying for me. And they got me out of so much. And it was great. But at the same time, I was still struggling with, Lord, like, it's so hard to be here at the same time with other guys. I don't think that they wanted to be mean or malicious to me, but they just thought they were the funniest people ever with the jokes that they would tell. And it was just very hurtful. And I began asking myself, okay, I don't think I want to be here anymore. So at the same time, I'm receiving what Christ wants me to receive through the lessons and the discipleship groups and the other students. And there's just some students who are making life pretty hard. And December rolls around, and I was staying with the Drapers during Christmas, and their son, Draper's son, he's much older than me, of course. He's married, and he loved my dad when he was younger, because he describes my dad as his older brother.
Okay.
That's how he describes him. And so I call him uncle. So we just talked, and he realized that my heart was changing. Because when I first came, my aunt is a counselor, so she could tell that there's something wrong with me. Like, of course, she could tell that, I still haven't healed from that night. And I remember, of course, she told him, and I remember him realizing that, of course, that I am now, like, healing a little bit. There's something changing in me. And I remember came back for second semester, a few weeks in, and I walk into John's office and I say, John, I don't want to be here anymore. John, I'm done. It's just, like, you love Jesus. I know other people here love Jesus, but some people are just acting like they don't. And I don't understand why God keeps having bad things happen to me when I didn't do anything wrong. And I kept thinking that I deserved something from God at the same time. And I remember John saying, hey, no, he talked to me, he's like, this is unfair and this is wrong, but in the best way possible. And I remember John looking at me and telling me that I needed to forgive, and that he was going to deal with the matter, that I shouldn't leave, and that I should give another chance to him to almost like as a fix the situation. And he was telling me, but at the same time, you need to forgive. I'm just thinking, why? I don't need to forgive anybody. And I don't remember why, but I was convicted by the Holy Spirit. And I started to forgive. And even before John talked to them, I can't even say boys, these men would come to me and started saying, Aaron, I've been talking to God and I haven't been treating you right. Some would come up to me crying, like, he's like, I've been terrible to you, and you didn't deserve any of it. And that's the first time I realized I'm giving something to God and God's fixing it. And God's doing with it what he planned to do. And I'm just wondering, what is happening? This is crazy. I remember crying as well, because some of these guys, I'm just thinking, of course this is wrong, but in my heart I was thinking, I'm never going to forgive them. I hate them. I wish God would take them away as well. And then now they're coming to me in tears just saying, like, I'm so sorry. And God worked in their hearts so hard, and that worked in my heart as well, to the point my Devo was in Connor's public speaking class, which every student here does. My Devo was on worthy, loved, blessed, and that Christ sees me as worthy, and he has blessed me. And
what was that? Worthy?
Worthy, loved, and blessed.
Okay.
So I'm worthy in Christ's eyes, I'm loved in his eyes, and he has blessed me. And that was the first time I'd ever taught anything. And I remember it was funny because the Devo was 10 minutes, but I went 22 minutes. And I thought, wow, I've failed. And then Connor was just like, that was amazing. And the student just told me
there's no way a torchbearer is going to fail you for going too long.
So it was just different, and that the students are just like, you should. I remember one of the guys told me and said, like, you should definitely pursue something in teaching. I was just thinking, no, my dad was a teacher. I don't want to be like that. And of course, Christ works in my life, and he changes that a little bit. But even with people coming to me and changing, and now Christ is working in my life, and I'm just now growing, and I'm beginning to love the Lord, and I begin to hate the old things. There's that song that we sing, the old hymn. It is. It says that turn your eyes upon Jesus, right? And then at the end it says, and the things of the world will go strangely dim in the eyes of his glory and grace.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, the things of the world try to go strangely dim. And I wanted to learn to love Christ more. And those last few weeks of that semester were so good. And I remember everything we learned. I remember loving it, and writing my D group papers, I loved it. And I began to love the Lord so much. And I told God that if I do well in that devotional, that I'll apply to CIU and do Bible teaching. And I did.
So you're at CIU now?
Yes, I am at CIU now. So I applied to CIU, and I looked at the fees, and I was just like, whew, I can't pay that. But again, God works, and Connor told me, hey, just pray about it. You never know. And I remember I prayed about it, and then I remember he told me, CIU has a scholarship for kids in missions. And I was like, really? And I remember, my mom just got a new job. She's not a lawyer anymore. And now she works for a company called Amigos, and it's a missions-based organization.
Wow.
I'm just like, what?
It's almost like the Lord knows what he's doing, huh?
Yeah, it's almost like he knows what he's doing. And now I tell the school this, and they're just like, yeah, you're exactly who we need. And your school's 100% paid for. Just like, what? Like, wow. God, what are we doing, God?
And that's a big tuition, too.
It is a very big tuition. Yeah. Now all I have to pay is the room and board, which is still a lot, but God is still providing. And this is going on in my life, and summer comes around, and I was supposed to go back home after summer. I decided to stay for summer camp. Karna gave me a week to teach, to practice just for CIU, just like he's doing this summer, and I loved it. And now the time comes, it's closer, I'm supposed to be going home, but I can't because of visa issues now. And if I go back, I will have to come back so much later. So my mom just says, just stay. We don't want to risk you losing your school. And I haven't seen my family in a whole year. And I had to go a whole another year before seeing them again. And I remember I was so sad. I was crying. I was just like, God, this is so hard. But I was like, unlike I did so many years ago, I'm going to trust you. Like you know what you're doing. And of course, here at CIU, it's been such a great year, and it's been different. It's been refreshing. And I went into CIU, and my roommate was a student here at Hills Hill, Eric Winton, and he has also been amazing to me, and I love him so much. And I remember just last semester, I remember someone said, "Wow, you're just so full of joy." There was this guy, his name was AD. He's on the board member. I remember he looked at me and said, "You're just so glowing, full of joy. You don't have to even smile to know that I know there's something inside you that's so good." I'm just wondering, what do you mean? That's so great to hear. I'm just like, and I know in my heart that is only God. Knowing the darkness that my heart was in for so many years, And then someone saying that about me, it wasn't just one person. I got to know Dr. Jones, the president, very well. And just like he said the same thing. I was just like, yeah, like you radiate something that we only know it's Christ. And I was like, yeah, I only know it's Christ for sure. Out of all you guys, I know for sure that it's only Christ that radiates that light. And of course, I'm still learning so much about the Bible. This year, I'm helping with chapels, and the Lord is still teaching me with that and helping me prepare the lessons. And it's just amazing to see what the Lord can do. And I think really it's amazing to see what the Lord can do when you give what you had to, and when you give things to Jesus. I was telling the boys this morning in our Devo with the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, that he took something that small and he gave it away, and he gave it to Jesus, because in his hands it's 5 loaves and 2 fish, but in God's hands it's enough to feed over 5,000.
Amen.
And I think that's the same in my life. You know, in my eyes, my life was useless. You know, I had to chase and strive for something. You know, I had to be something. I had to either be like my father, or I had to be this amazing sports person. I had to be this amazing student. But in God's eyes, all I had to do was give it to him, and I would be this, like this child of God that he always meant for me to be. You know, worthy, loved, and blessed. That's who he wants me to be, and that's who he has me being. And it's, of course, taken too long to realize that. I had lunch with my mom a few weeks ago when she came to visit, which was so amazing. And it's just, the Lord has been so good, and he has absolutely changed my life. She was saying that you can see that, like she told me that, she's like, you can see that the Lord has worked in your life and changed your life. Yeah. There's still things I need to work on, of course. I'm not perfect, and there's so many things in my heart I need to let go, and I'm still giving to the Lord. But still, in my life, I can start to see now that the Lord is working, and he's doing good. I'm not going to stop him. I'm not going to be in the Lord's way. And I'm working on giving more and more to Jesus, even the little stuff. And he's working in that, and he's doing his plan and his will in that. And he's working the way that he has always planned to. Nothing changed about him, and the only thing that's changing is me. And I think that has been very powerful in my life.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, it really is encouraging, and there is an excitement for me to watch what the Lord's done in your heart, and how you respond to him. You know, I told you the other day that I've appreciated this whole year. You know, while you were off in South Carolina at CIU, you were pretty regular with posting on social media, and I could tell that you were purposeful with the posts. It wasn't just, hey, look at what I had for dinner, you know, that kind of thing, but to encourage people to truth, to Jesus. And you know, I really appreciated that over the year. And it's exciting for me to see you coming back and being engaged with the kids, teaching in chapel. And you know, I praise God for all this, because I hear what you're saying. I understand that this, you know, you've tried your best. You tried that route, and there was no satisfaction. But now you have found that as you give to Jesus, you trust him, that he responds with his life and the fullness of it, and whatever there is for you to be engaged in. And so Gerald, called you Gerald. Aaron,
that's a compliment, yeah.
But no, Aaron, really, it's a blessing to spend some time with you like this, and I thank you for being so open.
Praise God.
Thank you for listening to the His Hill podcast this week. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our host, Kelly Doherty, and one of our counselors, Aaron Sseruwagi. We are wrapping up our elementary weeks of camp tomorrow, and will welcome junior high campers to the Hilltop on Sunday. Please keep praying for this camp season, that the campers would be open to truth, the summer staff would remain energized and encouraged, and that we all would fully rely on him as we head into the second half of summer. Once again, thank you for tuning in to the His Hill podcast today. Remember to keep your eyes fixed on Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. I'm Lizzie, and we'll see you next week.